In Ark, finding the perfect spot to build your base is a really important decision. I'm going to make it easier for you by showing you the 20 best PVE locations for the Aberration Map. I'd like to note that the numbers in this video are not my preferences. They're basically the progression system in the game, with the easier bases being at the start of the video and the late game bases being at the end of the video. So if you're looking for a blue zone or late game base, you can skip ahead in the video. Location 1 is the pillar at the start of the main river. You'll see this base spot recommended in many videos, and there's a reason why. This is a really cool, unique base spot. As you can see, this is located very close to the portal spawn point. The location is at 46.2 and 27.7. If you're looking for loot, there are actually 2 drop locations right nearby, and there's an artifact cave located right behind the base where you can do some loot runs. You may notice there's not a lot of space at the bottom of this location, but you can easily put some large cliff platforms on the pillar, and then I usually have my dinos and farming animals down the bottom. And there's a plant Z species plant at the bottom for easy seeds and dino healing. And you can build a simple bridge across the water to access the main parts of the map. Location number 2 is perfect if you want an easy beginner area with a lot of space. This is an upper level of the portal area, and you can see there is this large flat metal that you can easily build on. You've got a really cool view of the portal from this base. It is quite far from the rest of the map and not too close to any resources or charged nodes. The coordinates are 42.8 and 23.9. This spot is up on one of the higher levels, and you can easily access it through this path that leads from here down to the rest of the map. The next 2 base locations are located very close to each other, so I'm going to kind of list them separately, but I think if you choose either one of these, they're an excellent option. Location number 3 is this elevated plateau that is not too far from the beginner portal area. Aberration is a vertical map, so you can see here that we are actually quite high up and close to the top of the map. What I love about this location is it's a really big, nice flat area. You have a charge node, and you also have a plant species Z plant. And if you follow behind the charge node here, if you see in the distance that purple smoke, there is a gas vein here on this level as well. So this base spot is really encompassing. You have a whole range of things you need in your base. The location is 45.5 and 35.2. And just remembering that Aberration is a vertical map, so this location sits quite high up at those coordinates. Location 4 is located not too far from the last base, but it's on one of the middle tiers, and you can actually use a ramp to walk up to this one. So this location is 1 tier down and just on the other side of the last base location I showed you. Again, you can see the spine right there. And if we zoom in, this is also an amazing spot, and let me show you. Again, the area is quite flat and you have a charge node. You can also see that there are 2 pre-built vines coming off, so you can zipline easily away from this location. Green zone locations usually lack quite a few resources. This one's an exception. If you look in the distance there, you will see that there's actually 1 or 2 rich metal nodes nearby. There is a little bit more to this location. If you look behind the charge node at this little cliff here, you will see there is a waterfall and pool here, so you have easy access to water, as well as the plant species Z plant and some green gems. The coordinates are 46.2 and 36.1. The coordinates don't reflect the vertical nature of the map, so just remembering that we are higher up on one of the vertical tiers. The next location I have is a really overlooked base spot. Location 5 is this large flat cliff edge that borders the green and the blue zones on the south side of the map. You can see here there's a really large flat area of this cliff overlooking the blue zone area. You can build a really big, huge base here. There is no charge node, but you have access to a gas vein. There is some green gems. As you can see, we have a big flat area here. My only issue with this spot is the lack of water in the area, so you will have to probably tank some water quite a distance. You could easily expand out with some cliff platforms as well. But one of the best features about it is if you look over the ledge and you head straight down, you have access to the blue zone, all its resources, all its metal, and to the far right, you'll actually see that it heads into the red zone over there. The location I am at is at 50.7 and 32.4. Location number 6 is this hollowed out tunnel that is on the banks of the main river. And I would say it's a good base location for mid-game. What's really interesting about it is in this large rock here, you have a sealed in tunnel. How I would use this spot is to put some cliff platforms above, making my base up there, gating off the bottom and using that for my dino storage and breeding below. The cons of this is that out the back there is a lot going on. You have yearling spawns and there's often quite a lot of fights and bears and aggressors out there. That could get a little bit irritating. On the front side, you will have a lot of Spinos and Carcinos. And just around the corner, you have access to a charge node as well as a plant species Z plant. The location of the tunnel entrance is 36.6 and 37.7. Location number 7 is this mid-tiered plateau. You can see that we're very close to the main river. You can see that we're also really close to the blue zone. It's just ahead down the river. This area has a really large flat spot to build on. You've got a charge node in the center as well as some green gems. You could also extend out on the cliff using cliff platforms. For being so close to the blue zone, this area is relatively safe, but you will get a lot of raptors and ravagers around this location. On the right hand side here, you can see there's a pathway in which you can walk down to the river. This area is lacking a gas vein, but it does have a plant species Z nearby just in the little valley below. Here's the location on the map, and if you look, you can see this is a very super central location. The coordinates are 39.8 and 46.5. The next base location you will see recommended a lot. Again, it's for a mid to late game base. There's a lot of threats in this area, so you want to be well prepared if you're moving here. And it's located at the waterfall on the end of the main river. What's great about this spot is you have a flat area, you have a charge node, you also have a gas vein. If you want more space, you can easily use cliff platforms to extend outwards. The advantages of this spot is that you've got easy access to water and super easy access to the blue zone via this path that's just down to the side. The downside to this area is the proximity to a lot of annoying creatures. You'll be constantly harassed by Spinos, Carcinos, Sarcos, yearlings, and ravagers. The location here is 42.5 and 50.6, and we're located at the top of the waterfall. Location number 9 is not in a spectacularly pretty spot. What it can offer is a massive plateau that you can build a huge base on if that's what you're looking for. This is a mid-height plateau that is between the two rivers in the green zone. You can see that there is a charge node, also a drop that is nearby, and you can see that there's also a plant species Z plant. This is the location on the map. We're at 31.3 and 50.6. The next spot I recommend is located in the fertile lake area, and again you'll see this one recommended quite a lot. I don't like to build up here just because it's too far from everything for me, but if you want a really cool looking base spot that is absolutely flat, has loads of room, and that you can incorporate into a really cool futuristic build, this spot is the place to be. If we take a closer look here, you can see it is completely flat, and I love all of the metal around it. It is lacking charge nodes, plant species Z plants, as well as gas veins, but it has this super cool overhang which overlooks the lake. This is the location on the map where the coordinates 13.9 and 41. Location 11 is also at the fertile lake area, and I think that this is an even cooler location. You already have this pre-built metal structure that looks like a derelict city. There's also a flat spot down the bottom where you could build a really awesome base and incorporate what is already there into your design. If you head out the back of this location, you will hit a path, and if you follow it down to the left here, this path will lead you to one of the surface caves. In this surface cave, you will be able to harvest loads and loads of metal. The location otherwise doesn't have any charge nodes, gas veins. There is a plant species Z plant not too far from it. This is located at 16.6 and 33.3. Location 12, I think, is one of the best green zone locations on the map. The reason being that it's in good proximity to all of the resources that you want, and it has an amazing location in which you can access other areas of Aberration. This plateau is at 33.1 and 62.1. You can see that we are right on the edge between the green and the blue zones. So there is this big flat plateau here. There is actually some rich metal nodes, which you can see here. If you build about 10 foundations away from them, they will respawn. You have some green gems and a plant species Z plant. And a little bit further down away from the plateau, you can see that there is a gas vein right here. And a short distance from the plateau, there is also a charge node, so that you can use that to make element or transfer off the map easily. So standing on the edge of the plateau, you will see that this waterfall at the end of the river goes right down into the blue zone. So you are in really good proximity to the blue zone where you can get a lot more extra metal. To the north, there is also a surface entrance cave. Location 13, I think, is a really interesting and often overlooked base spot. There are so many good things about this location. If you are solo or a very small tribe, this could be a perfect spot. The best thing about this location is that you are basically on the border of the green and blue zones. If you turn around right here, you will see that you are right on the edge of the path that leads down to the blue zone. So you have access to all of the amazing resources in that area. It's not a huge space, but you can easily put a cliff platform up on the top where you could build your base and then gate off the metal structure below where you can have your dinos for breeding or for harvesting. There is a plant species Z plant located right next to the metal structure. There's a couple of downsides to this location is that there's no charge node right in the base area or a gas vein, but if you do pivot up to the river there, you are close to the exit where there is a gas vein and a charge node. This is our location on the map. You can see we are right at the edge of the green and the blue zone with the latitude of 43.6 and 47 on the longitude. Location 14 is one of my favorite base spots on the map, and I'm not just saying that. This is actually where I built my base for the Aberration playthrough, and there are several reasons why I love this spot. You can see it is a large flat plateau. You've got the beautiful light trees. The one nice thing about this location is you are right on the border of the blue zone. However, you won't get nameless spawning. Because of the light trees, it keeps the nameless away at bay, so make sure that they're incorporated as part of your build. What I really love about this location is that you have a charge node and a gas vein right there. What you can also do with this space is use the large cliff platforms to extend out and build more around there, and place a gate to wall off the rest of your base. What we ended up doing was building some zip lines down to the blue zone so we could easily harvest metal and either bring it back up on ourselves or with a Ravager. I think this is an incredible spot and I highly recommend it. There are two downsides to this spot. It's not very close to water, so you do have to tank it in. The second downside is that there is a yearling spawn just at the edge of the cliff, so they would constantly harass me on the way home, and I really don't like them, so I found that really frustrating. Here is the location on the map, and the coordinates can be found at 36.8 and 57.2. The next location you will see recommended in a lot of videos. I think it's a really good spot. I don't think it's the best spot in the blue zone for a couple of reasons. The things I love about this spot is that you have this beautiful plateau. It's very flat and it's very large, so you can build an awesome base here. If we look from this angle, you will see that the green zone is just above that waterfall there. So you have really good access between the blue and the green zone there. You do need to set up some structures or some zip lines to do that though. There are lots of plant species Z plants in this area, but there is not a charge node up here, and it's also lacking a gas vein. It's very close to water, which is great, so you can easily get that to your base. So you can see that even though it is quite dark here, we are not getting attacked by nameless. So this is one of the main reasons why this base spot is so popular, that you have great access to the blue zone and you don't get attacked by nameless. So the thing that's both good and bad about this location is it's quite hard to access. You can really only come and go to this location by using zip lines or traveling along the tree trunks. This means it's great, it's safe from a lot of creatures, but it's also hard to pop down and get some resources easily. Here is our location on the map. You can see again very close to the blue and green zone border. The latitude is 36.1 and longitude is 65.4. Location 16 I think is one of the coolest base locations on this map. I actually thought about living here myself. It is a mid to late game base location. This is an amazing spot. You have this kind of metal pyramid here. It does have one of the kind of cool TV screens that flashes in and out. You have a charge node here, which is really, really handy. The one reason why I think this is a mid to late game base is that there are a lot of nameless that will spawn here. Even with the charge node, they will come at you, so make sure you have lots of plant Z species Z plants to light the area, otherwise you will be inundated with nameless every time you log into your base. You can see from the side on view here, you've got a really flat spot to build in. You can incorporate the pyramid into your base, and it's at the end of a land bridge, so you can easily access it with your mounted creatures. Here is where we are on the map. The map coordinates are 44.9 and 68.5. Location number 17 is another land bridge location. This one has loads and loads of gas veins around it. It's got some really large crystal nodes as well as a charge node. If you look a little bit closer, you can see there is at least 4 or 5 gas veins in this area, so you can collect a lot of gas. The crystals add a lot of natural light, but you will need to plant species Z plants to keep the nameless at bay here. If you turn around, you see that you've got land bridge access to the rest of the blue zone. The coordinates here are 45.6 and 63.2. It is a slightly smaller area than the last land bridge and would be good for a tribe of 1 or 2 people. Base location number 18 is actually a secluded little hideaway in the blue zone. Tucked away at the edge of the map, you have this cool waterfall coming out of a metal structure with these 2 large pillars next to it. From this location, you have really easy access to water, and just down the cliff, you have a plant species Z plant to grab some seeds. You will see that there is a gas vein behind the right-hand side pillar, but there is no charge node close to this base. You can easily place some cliff platforms on these 2 pillars here and make yourself a really cool base. You can see that we are tucked away in a really far corner of the blue zone at 53.6 and 78.7. The view from the top is really pretty, and it's really, really bright with lots of light trees. I am not 100% sure on the nameless here. You may want to put some plant Z species plants down just in case. Location 19 is again a very late game area. You want to be well established on the map before you move here. So while I'll give coordinates for this specific charge node here, I think this base recommendation applies to this whole area, this whole Crystal Lakes area. It is a really cool spot. You have access to an artifact cave, a lot of awesome resources, and you're actually at the border between the blue zone and the red zone. So if you're ready to go Reaper hunting, get Drake eggs, this is a really good spot to be. Here is the location of the charge node on the map. This is at 54.7 and 62.9. There's a lot of really cool places where you can set up your base. If you head up this gradual ramp here, you can park a large cliff platform at the end and put your base there. If you want to live on the columns in the middle of the lake, you can put the cliff platforms on the stone columns, and you can also put them on the large crystal columns, and these are going to be super bright and they look really cool. There's lots of resources near this location. You've got plant species Z plants, you have gas veins on the little islands. There are a lot of threats in this area that you do need to be really mindful of. Loads of Karkinos will harass you, Megalos, Sarkos, so you need to be really prepared to live here. And you'll need to make sure that you have plant species Z plants to keep the nameless away. And lastly, base location 20 again is a very late game experienced player build spot, but it is really cool. And that's because there is a lot of threats and a lot of dangers in this area, but the location and proximity to a lot of resources as well as the red zone is what makes it unique. So you see that you have this metal pyramid here with a charge node, which is great. Surrounding it, there is a large flat area. Right near this location though, you will see tons and tons and tons and tons of the rich metal rocks, so metal farming is super easy for you. The coordinates here are 57.5 and 56.9, and you can see that we are right on the border of the radiation zone. If you head in an eastward direction from the pyramid, you'll hit the Crystal Lakes area where you have access to water and extra resources. If you head south from the pyramid, you will find yourself on the main path in the radiation zone, so you can head down, get yourself some rock drake eggs, or start getting pregnant with those Reaper babies. So again, this is a very late game location, but it can be great, especially for a larger tribe. A reminder that you will need to place lots of plant species Z plants, otherwise you will be consistently harassed by nameless. My name is Krabby. I make super helpful guides for Ark Survival Ascended. If you like what you see, you can subscribe to the channel for more or click on this guide right here.